Let's give a few more minutes to let our colleagues join. Is that okay? Just a few more minutes so that we can start. Maybe just
Hello,
one more minute.
Catherine.
Morning, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, thanks.
Fantastic. While everybody is joining, what I can do, I can get my presentation ready. Okay, I think we can start in the interest of time. Hello, Grace. Nice to see you again. Hi, Alice. Good morning. Hi, Irene. Good morning. Nice to see you all. I hope you are doing well and keeping warm. Today is Friday, so I'm sure many of us are counting down like bad employees, aren't we? It's a nice thing. It's a nice thing. It's a nice thing. The weekend is here. At least we get to chill out and do some of the things that we enjoy doing. You know, yeah, get away from work. It's nice to get that balance. So a very warm welcome back, so that we can continue where we left from yesterday. And I would like us to start with a word of prayer. Who'd like to pray for us, please? Who'd like to pray for us? Feel free to unmute yourself and pray. It's always nice to begin with a word of prayer. Anyone?
Let us pray.
Thank you, Irene.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we want to thank you so much for this is yet another day that you have made. And so we will rejoice. We rejoice and are glad in it, oh God. Thank you so much, God, for the gift of life. And Father, now we want to thank you as we come into another session today to continue with the learning. Father, we want to commit the time into your hands, oh God. Father, we want to commit Catherine even as she takes us through. Father, we pray that you would indeed bless her and give her more wisdom and insight, oh God, for the things that she's sharing with us, oh God. And Father, we pray that even as we put these things into practice in our various workplaces, oh God, that you'd use us to do the right thing and to remember what we learn, oh God, so that we can have good procedures, oh God, and apply them in a way that glorifies you, oh God, and encourages the people that we work with, oh God. In Jesus' name I pray.
Amen. Thank you. Lovely prayer. Thank you very much. So recap of yesterday, what we took away, what triggered our interest, really getting there and saying this is what we want to do. Anyone? Good morning, Lydia. Nice to see you. Welcome. Morning, David. Welcome. Anyone? Yeah. Anyone? Recap of yesterday, takeaways, what we really learned, what we took away, just to jog our minds so that we start on a cruise level as we get into the second and last part of disciplinary and grievance handling management. Anyone? Feel free to unmute. Tell me. I talked about a couple of things. Many things. What is grievance management? We looked at why we need to have grievance management. We also looked at the purpose of discipline and grievance management. You remember? Just jotting our minds, the do's and don'ts, some of the things that we did, and we really had good discussions. And then we looked at the processes of grievance and discipline management. And of course, that we looked at things around output, objectives, activities that are inside there. Anyone would like to recap for me? Okay, great. So let's start. If there's any question, please feel free to unmute yourself and let me know. Yeah, let me know if you see my screen. Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. Let me just put it on slideshow. There we go. Okay. So I'll jump to, okay, let me just skip and jump to our Give me a minute. Here we go. Yeah, so we ended. So here. Okay, there we go. So we want to talk about the challenges of, let's start with the challenges. And yesterday we almost touched on some of the questions that we asked, some of the experiences that we were sharing. And I would like us to, let me just hide that screen, for us to understand and discuss the challenges of disciplinary management. What are some of the challenges that we face at the workplace when we are trying to institute? What are some of the challenges that we face? and how have we maybe gone around in surmounting the challenges? Challenges? Anyone would like to start us off?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, for me, I'll say one great challenge has been a language barrier.
Mm-hmm.
And language barrier comes into place where there are some who we are not able to communicate. And so how we have mitigated is to get somebody to translate, to interpret whatever someone is saying, maybe during a disciplinary session. And again, if maybe they're not able to, as they converse, you can't even hear them well, you tell them, write it down so that at least it's clear. And so you see clarification, much as someone could have written, maybe they meant something else. So you still engage in a conversation so that it's very clear. By the time you're making a decision, you're on the same page.
That's
So
very okay.
that has been the challenge.
Wow. Is it because of the level of education, or is it because you work in a totally different jurisdiction that that this happens?
Okay, it's basically both. At times it's the level of education.
Yeah.
At times somebody prefers using even mother tongue, and then you're thinking, okay, as in they flow well when they use their mother tongue. So you say, okay, kindly, if one of you is able, please assist here. Yeah, so those are some of the challenges.
Okay, great. Yeah, and of course, we need to be accommodative of the process, so that also people feel that there is there was fairness. I spoke in the language I could, and if there's always an interpreter, yeah, that's very 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 important. Yeah, well done. Has someone else challenges of disciplinary and grievance management? Anyone? So, yesterday, I remember Gabriel asking, we want to implement this, and we feel that there's resistance. People don't want to change. And we actually analyzed why and how we can go about bringing in these policies and making people understand that they serve the greater good. You want your rights, you want respect, you want to be known that there is a point of reference and it will be dealt with fairly, transparently, and very decisively. And that applies to everybody across board, from the CEO to the driver in the organization or the office assistant. And of course, we know that everybody is important in the organization. So sometimes some of the challenges, and they could be more than what we have on the screen, overly focus on implementation of policies. We really want to make sure that the policy is what is the law, jury, the prosecutor, everything. So the implementation is one thing, but again, are they progressive? Do they allow for some flexibility? Do the people really understand what is there? Lack of simulation of metrics in terms of standards of discipline. And we say that lack of stipulation, of metrics in terms of standards of discipline. What are the standards of discipline? If you're going to use one metrics to discipline the CEO and another one to discipline the quality assurance officer, that's wrong. It should actually be one and the same. So people will just think, well, there's no consistency. Lack of effective communication, either in the process itself when it is ongoing, or even when the policies that we have written are very ambiguous. They're not clear. Effective communication, you say that you're going to take 7 days. We don't know whether it's 7 working days or 7 calendar days, things like those. And we keep thinking, well, it's on the 8th day now. I don't know whether it is working days, they're counting or whatever. So we should be as explicit as possible. Rush into disciplinary actions too soon without due regard for the process and what could have gone wrong, what really is the matter. And here we are looking at critically analyzing the duty of care that we have in this organization for our people in this organization. So sometimes we are too rushed to condemn, So they went with the company car. They were not supposed to use the company car. And unfortunately, the company car has been hijacked and goods worth X amount of money has been stolen, and we are quick to condemn, they are the ones who did what, who set up with the robbers who robbed the truck. But when you investigate further, you find that the issue is totally different. Unrealistic expectations and goals, and I keep on saying rush into disciplinary actions too soon. We should all keep level head. Who's going to be in this process? What is the role of the line manager, or what is the role of the second line manager, and what is the role of HR? If there's pressure for you to sit with some of the things which are being said, I think you need to push back and say, hey, let's look at it critically, because there's risk to the business if we make rash decisions. Unrealistic expectations and goals, around this process. The unrealistic expectations and goals around, well, if I am going to suspend someone, am I going to stop their salary? Am I going to put them on half pay? Unrealistic expectations of saying that we investigate this matter in 2 days. Unrealistic expectations of being told that something has happened in Mombasa and you must travel tomorrow morning without due regard of what is happening to you as an individual, to you in terms of your work. Whom are you going to delegate? You're supposed to drop everything and start moving to Mombasa. Lack of proper measures of discipline in the environment. And that's what I keep on saying. It's important for us to collect data from time to time to know what is happening. What are some of the things that really put people in the way of discipline or grievance process. So it's important for us to document that and to see whether there is a pattern that is emerging. And that pattern that emerges, what are we doing about it in terms of looking into our policies, looking into our systems, and putting that across to management for implementation, so that the environment doesn't have to keep having cases of indiscipline and people having grievances about each other. Of course, employee resistance. What is this? And I said, sometimes there's a perception of, that section 58, from 58, that those ones, they are policies which do not work for me, and because they don't really understand what should be there. Or your onboarding systems, your onboarding processes should be so elaborate around employee relations. So what are those key policies that we want to talk about during onboarding? Make sure that your sexual harassment policy is on point, it's elaborate, people do understand, and your grievance handling procedure policy is on point, they understand. The next one would be the disciplinary policy. What does it say? And finally, also your whistleblowing policy. What does it say? What does it, how can someone use it? And the confidence. And of course, you're saying that our environment expects everybody to be truthful and honest, and eliminate any form of malice when all these things are happening. So for you to get more acceptance around these things, grievance for the wrong reason, malice, vendetta, people wanting to score, to settle scores with each other, and difficulties in the management of employee conduct. They're just some rogue employees, forming camps and silos, because of conflicts. And there's camp A, camp B. You wonder, why should there be camps? And then there's camp C. You hear another one now has been formed over there. These ones have come from camp A, camp B, and they have formed camps. So we need to be aware of that, and who is in charge? Who is in charge of these challenges when they come? It's all of us together as an organization, because we are saying these are possible challenges. There could be many more, and when we are aware of these challenges, what should we do about them? What risk mitigation measures are we putting in place to make sure that we are well covered? Okay. Question? Reactions? Have you faced any of them? Reaction? Question? Anyone who would like to react to that? Okay. So let's move on. And what are the requirements when you think about an effective disciplinary and grievance management system? What do you think are some of the requirements, or should be in that, should be in your policies? Anyone? Okay, let's go through them, and feel free, changamkeni, so that I'm not the only one talking. So there'll be many requirements of an effective disciplinary system, and the systems and the processes. And when you look at our Employment Act, it really outlines the process to be followed if you were to discipline an employee. It also has gross misconduct. We call them, there's gross misconduct. The other one is, if it's not gross, it is what? Minor. Is it minor? Minor, major, and gross, isn't it? That's what we have. So it goes, we categorize the things that are under gross misconduct, the things which are major, and the other ones which are under minor, so that it actually gives us a very good system of, well, this is a minor misconduct. Within a minor misconduct, what are the consequences that should be meted out to an employee who has committed a minor misconduct, a major misconduct, and a gross misconduct? So all those is outlined. And I hope that when you look at your policies, actually that you have outlined them and there is no ambiguity. There is no ambiguity between what is a major misconduct and what is gross misconduct. Because sometimes, and we have seen cases where an employee has actually committed a misconduct in the organization, and there's maybe they even two. One falls under gross misconduct, the other one falls under major misconduct. How would you handle such a matter?
I think the Employment Act really gives a guideline because on what is considered gross misconduct, and because in disciplinary issues we want to avoid the situations where we would be liable legally. If something is done that is not amongst the provisions of the Employment Act, then we classify it otherwise. Otherwise, if it's one of those listed like theft and all that, absenteeism without permission, then we can easily say it is a gross misconduct as per the Employment Act.
Okay, and that's good because we have guidance from the Employment Act. But if you had those two, would you now say, oh, okay, step down, let's have it as a major misconduct, or would you up it and say, I'm going to combine both and take it as a gross misconduct? What would we do? Or you want to handle one case, finish with one major misconduct, let's go through this disciplinary process. After it finishes, you come and say, oh, now we finished with that disciplinary case. Catherine, come again. Let's look into this, and it's under gross misconduct. Really? What would you do? And they happened at the same time. Scenarios I'm putting out there, which can be real, and you will encounter them. Let's discuss. Anyone willing to give it a try? Would you lump it together, or you will just handle one at a time, despite them having occurred at the same time? Anyone? Gladys, Grace, Lydia, Irene, Alice. I'm just reading your names as they appear on my panel. What would you do under such circumstances?
Let me try. I think if the abstraction has been committed by one employee, I would handle them at the same time and address them at the same time, other than handling one and then the other, so that the show cause letter and all the documentation is referring to the same documents, and then to the same issue, to the two issues, I mean, and then but the results, the outcome of each might probably be different.
The outcome might be different. I agree. It's important that we handle them at the same time, totally, so that we don't exhaust. We don't make the process too long, and everybody becomes exhausted. Yeah. Yes, Lucy.
I was of the same idea, because when we talk of indiscipline, it is all indiscipline. So maybe in the show cause letter, we can enumerate the issues, but we make it one, because you can't go from one indiscipline to another each day, calling the same person over various issues. It shows there's a problem, there's a deteriorating discipline here. And this is the same person. So I concur, and I would say, just put them all together and just deal with the person as an indisciplined situation we are dealing with.
Exactly. Yeah. And let's say one of upon investigation, we all see that we all agree. We point to the Employment Act and also to our policies, outlining very well that the gross misconduct warrants summary dismissal. The major misconduct warrants surcharge. For that in discipline. What decision will you make? What decision will you make? Might have such types of scenarios.
My hand is up.
Yes, please go ahead. Sorry, I didn't see your hand. Sorry, sorry about that.
Maybe I'd throw this as a dilemma for me.
Yeah.
I'd share this as a dilemma because summary dismissal and surcharge, these are two counts facing one person. So even I cannot surcharge you and then tomorrow I dismiss you. So I'll deal with the summary dismissal case because it's like it's an escalation. Even with the surcharge, it's escalated to the point that I now have to deal with summary dismissal. So I think I'll deal with the higher issue, the summary dismissal, despite the surcharge, and forgo the surcharge because I cannot punish you twice.
Exactly. I was waiting for that phrase. You cannot punish someone twice. It's even illegal. It's even morally wrong. Yeah. Someone else? Someone else? The right thing to do always is to have a very clear understanding of the decision that has been reached by the committee, that it's without doubt the correct decision. And if we are not even sure about this decision that we have arrived at, having looked and relooked at our policy, read through, interpreted, made the comma, even when you're reading it, there's a comma, you pause so that there is no, and then you continue reading. Then you also look at the employment law, and you could work across various jurisdictions. So I'm also privy to the fact that you could be looking after the region, and there's someone maybe sitting in Uganda, or even you look after global operations. You might be in that position. You need to understand the laws of that country, and even in Kenya, and if you are faced with those kind of conflicting decisions and issues, I think it's always important to point it to your labor lawyer or your legal department and say, this is whatever. And we would like to make the decision. It's a gross misconduct. And there was also a major misconduct. Both of them, these are the results of this misconduct and this whatever. Or one of the things is that to tell the person, we will take the higher issue, still discussing it, but our decision will be based on the one that is more serious compared to the other one. So they also know and come and say, well, unfortunately, we have to dismiss you, and these are the reasons as to why we are dismissing you. This is what entitled to you, and this is the process that we are going to follow for separation. Even at separation, I keep on saying, is that person is still a human being. No matter how difficult it is, they are still a human being at the end of the day. So let's have a lot of diplomacy at the exit stage. And I'm saying that because we see that, now we want to label them whatever we want to label them. Mistakes do happen, and tell them the way they need to learn from their mistake so that they are able to do what? To progress in life. For sure, maybe they might never come to work in your organization because their file will be, can this employee be employed back in our organization? You say no, because they were terminated because of gross misconduct. Yes, Lucy?
Thank you, Catherine. Morning, everyone. I have a comment.
Yeah.
It's something that in regards to somebody not being punished twice.
Yeah.
sometimes what the employee has done is so bad, like stealing.
Yeah.
And when it is proved is a summary dismissal, and then the organization may wish to also pursue a criminal case. In that case, how do we deal with that? Is it deemed as a double punishment, or can we say this one is justified because there was a criminal element to it?
Very good question. I like it, and I was hoping that it would come. What happens in a theft situation? Yeah, Gabriel, and then the rest of us. Yeah.
Yes. Morning, Malim.
Morning.
And morning, all. I think it is still amounts to double jeopardy. Double jeopardy, where is a doctrine that you cannot punish twice, and we see even in public sector, when you have stolen, you are normally given an option whether to go through that rigorous disciplinary criminal investigation, or you are told to resign. So it is either one of them, and the law locks it up. It can't be twice. It can't be two disciplines. Otherwise, I think there will be no point that once you have dismissed someone, it means that person is no longer with you. But if you are pursuing what he has stolen, then you need to suspend and then do those criminal investigations. After which now you go to the employees to return the money, or the decision is to fire.
Exactly. We keep on saying, please, by all means, let them be the guests of their state. And if you feel that, no, let me rephrase that. So someone has stolen, beyond doubt, they've stolen company property, and they've gone through the disciplinary hearing. And by the time they're stealing company property, then you need to go and report it to the police. It becomes a criminal matter. A criminal matter means that they'll be handled by the police. For you to recover your property, I'm sure you have an insurance, you have insurance for the property. Go and ask for compensation for insurance. That's why we are saying it is, you can't do what? You cannot punish them twice. But if you want to pursue the legal way and ask the police come and investigate, they stole, and we want to take them to court and let it run its course and make sure that the person is jailed and prosecuted and stuff like that, by all means, you will have to go. You will have to make that decision of how long that is going to take. And of course, at that time, you will not be able to claim from your insurance, just in case that this person is either jailed or told to return back the money. Then insurance will come and say that you benefited, so give us back our money. So it's so complicated, it's murky, it's long, it's laborious. Everybody doesn't want to get there. So sometimes you just say, well, it was nice knowing you while it lasted. We don't need your services anymore. We've let you go, and please exit, and you will never come back here. However, you have also the right to pursue the legal action and take them to court. But again, you cannot punish people twice. That's what the law says. And even in the interest of the person, that would not be allowed here. Lucy, you have your hand up?
Sorry, I have brought it down. I'm sorry about that. I'll bring it down.
That's okay.
No, mine was in a situation where the employee has actually disappeared.
Yeah.
So cannot be found to come and sit in a hearing to say this and this happened, and defending myself.
Mm-hmm.
So in that case, they have been absent and they have not showed up. So what happens? Because clearly The person is nowhere to be seen. They have disappeared.
They know that they were facing a disciplinary and they decided to abscond on the day they were supposed to appear for the hearing.
An incident happens.
Yeah.
So the money maybe is it's lost. Rather, they stole the money and disappeared immediately. So not that you are able to reach out to the person. Phone off, can't be reached, can't be found. So they are gone. They are gone.
They are gone. they are not addressed. They are not there.
Yes, they are not there. They are gone.
Even their friends in the office won't say where
you
they
try
are.
You try to get all the leads.
Yeah.
But nobody knows exactly where the person is.
And through the legal system?
Also, the legal system, you hand it over, but still you cannot find the person.
You can't. Ooh, they disappeared into thin
They
air.
disappeared, yeah, completely.
Wow. Okay. What do we do in such circumstances, guys? Even they disappear, they know that they have made a mistake, a grave one at that. What do we do, Gabriel?
Okay, thank you. I think what I'm thinking is just my thought. I think this is like a lost person, and you may not conclude at a go that he has disappeared because he has stolen some money. In the first instance, there should be a policy kind of already embedded in your organization on what happens in communication. Some of the policies I've seen in that indicates that you can be served through your email. In the event you don't make up within 2 days or 3 days, it will be deemed that you have absconded. Secondly, because this person has stolen and has disappeared, I think for the HR, the proper thing is to just get an OB number, report that case to get an OB number. This person disappeared, we are not getting him, and this kind of amount of money were lost. So now you've already, because there's nothing much you can do when someone has totally left. So in a nutshell is to, I would think it's to exhaust the means, maybe even sending the letter through registered mail to his official or her official address, and also emails. And there also should be a policy that if we don't hear you after you have left your job position for 2 or 3 days, we'll assume you have absconded. That will cover the part of him leaving, but the part of stealing the money, I think it would be covered through reporting an OB, and then you start the investigation, because the OB number can trigger now investigation.
So, and that's correct. That's the process. So we are saying that we take him through the disciplinary process in his absence. Is that what you're saying, Gabriel? Leave the money that has been stolen. We've gone and reported to the police that XYZ has stolen 1 million shillings from the company. We can, and it's missing in his petty cash. You know, we all know. In fact, he didn't hand over. When we call him, and for us to know that the money is still is missing, and we are thinking that he has stolen the money, is because he's not calling. Nobody knows where he is. He's not picking the calls. He's not answering messages. We have looked for him. His next of kin will not say where he is. You know, so we are suspecting that indeed he has stolen the money, because on Friday, he was supposed to have given the person who was coming on shift, waited for them, and they did not come. So
yes, madam.
Confirmed.
Yes, madam. What I'm saying, it points towards what you have, how you have summarized it. But from a HR perspective, it will be just report. The HR or the person in charge of disciplinary, or even the committee, would only make a report to the extent that this person is missing. He appears to we lost this money, we suspect he's the one, but it will not be. Sorry.
Someone needs to mute.
Yeah. So what I'm saying, it will not be fair at all. I think Luisa Mwangi or Irene, one of them is talking.
Yeah, I have muted.
Okay, no problem. What I was saying is that it will be futile to transact any disciplinary issue without the presence of that person. The much we can do is just a report and submit the same report. And because there is a criminal issue here and the person is not available, then that is where the reporting comes in. But under the rights to fair hearing and fair administrative action, there is nothing much which can be done or transacted in absence of the person until you have legal evidence that you have exhausted all the means to get this person, including to serve the person. Yeah,
exactly.
It will end at the reporting stage. Thank you.
Yeah, it unfortunately becomes very thin line around, you've absconded duty. Absconding duty is summary dismissal, isn't it? So we have to show that we've exhausted all means to look for you. And we have done everything in our power to make sure, to know that you're not dead, you're not sick, everything, before we actually say that we've dismissed you from our employment. However, we've reported this case to the police, that X amount of money is missing. It was in your care by the time you left our organization on this date, and this file is still open. I don't know how we can still dismiss a person and still open. It's open at the government offices in terms of law. It is open, and we are sending the letter of your termination of employment to the last known address, and that letter must be registered. And when you go to the post office, when you register that letter, you must come back with evidence or that the letter was registered and you put it in file. Lydia?
Thank you, Catherine. I have a question with regard to dismissal. I'm not contributing to that. I think it's been exhausted, if you allow me. In a situation where we've dismissed somebody and they have appealed, and the appeals committee has recommended that they come back. And we handle that case in terms of one, because when they have been cleared by the appeals committee, it means then they have no case to answer, and we need to change the documents in their file. So the clarification I'm seeking is, how do we need to handle their file, yet keep the memory of the event or of the occurrence, and yet clean their file? I need some guidance on that.
And we all kiss and make up. Welcome back. Welcome back. We are happy to have you. Hey, me, I won't be HR in my next lifetime. I can tell you guys, I'll be a telephone operator. Hello, hello, kring, 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 kring. How are you? How may I direct your call? You want to speak to Lydia? Please hold on to the line. Kwisha maneno.
Nice one.
Nime transfer, nimeenda nyumbani, hakuna pending work. Anyway, how? I have a question, but I'm sure many people are asking the same question. Someone please ask Lydia the question. The question that I'm burning to ask.
Ask, I will answer. Whoever asks the question. I think I have the answers.
You have the answer?
Yes.
Okay. By the time we are dismissing someone, and we always say that you can appeal within 7 days, isn't it? Appeal the decision within 7 days.
No, maybe before they ask the question, because I can guess what your question is.
That's my question,
Yeah, of course, the procedure in terms of appeals was followed as per
Yeah.
the requirements of the policy guidelines available.
Yeah.
And the reason or the appeals committee verdict was based on the fact that there was a part of the procedure that was omitted. So, but they do not dispute that the offense was committed. So they are being cleared on the basis that the disciplinary committee did not follow the proper procedure simply because there is a step that, according to their interpretation, was not followed. Yet, according to the according to the disciplinary committee, the process was followed, but then different wordings were used.
Wow.
So the offense is all parties agreed an offense was committed. The only challenge is due process was not followed. So, and I think that's not the problem for now. My question is, how do we handle the documentation aspect of the case where you need to clear their files, but you need to keep history of what happened from an HR perspective?
Ooh, okay. Gabriel?
Okay. What I think is that we don't need to pluck out the documentation. What we need to do is to write an overriding letter or an overriding report to effect that all that has been carried overtaken by events. Actually, it so happens the procedure, when it is wrong, even in the normal court of laws, the entire thing fall by the wayside. So it's just writing a report towards that and indicating that that report, all the matters which were there have been dealt with, and the final verdict is this. And therefore, that decision which you had arrived at as a disciplinary committee has been overruled, and the status quo or the person now comes in. That now makes sure that you have a history, at the same time you have and because in the event that this guy or this lady will do another, will commit another crime or will do another disciplinary issue, then that part of documentation will form part of the evidence that there is probability that this guy can commit a disciplinary issue.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing is that what Gabriel has said is very correct. When you go to a court of law, the procedure is what the magistrate looks at, the court looks at. If the procedure was not followed, too bad, you're not going to win that case. And of course, we will now. What happens, and I can imagine Lydia, is that the committee, the first committee that was looking into this matter, must have felt very bad about it, and just saying, well, but the problem is that he stole. We have reasonable doubt that, let's say he stole, I'm just assuming he stole. That's an easy way, it's an easy case of summary dismissal. But I come and tell you, but the procedure was not followed. So it even leaves egg on your face that even you guys don't know what you are doing. You get what I mean? So, and then if it's a bad environment, instead of whatever, he goes rumor-mongering and saying, they don't even know what they were doing, with his noses and heads high and everything that goes with it, and starts creating rumors around it, instead of being humble and saying, okay, fine, I saw that the procedure was not right, and I'm happy that I went to the appeal, it was agreed. However, I learned from this mistake. All of us learn from this mistake and debrief and say, let's move forward. We all learn from it. It was, the procedure was not followed. However, you are still on the radar of having committed that disciplinary action. And despite us opening the file and letting you back into the organization, we would like you to learn from it.
We would like you to learn from it, so that it also builds it creates a better working relationship with all of us. Can you imagine him going back to the supervisor and just stamping and saying, I'm back. Sasa nilikuwa nimeandikwa na pencil, sasa nimeandikwa na kalamu ya ink, so we don't want all those kinds of vibes in the organization. We want to continue knowing that, yes, even the person who is an expert in making these decisions can also err. And that's why we are saying leaders can also agree to be vulnerable and say, well, it happened, we didn't know it all, and we learned from that incident. Someone else who would like to add?
As they add, I wanted to ask, following up on Gabriel's advice, that we need to write a letter, like indicating the circumstances and what happened at the final decision.
Yeah.
Would the minutes, would the appeals committee decision and the minutes of management after receiving the appeals committee verdict, would those suffice, or we need another independent letter? Because I guess the appeals committee decision would be documented and indicating what needs to be done, and that should be given to the management, who should also respond or react to the appeals verdict in terms of minutes. Would those be sufficient?
Okay, Gabriel, go, and then I go. And someone else, please contribute as well. Feel free to unmute and contribute. Yes, Gabriel?
Yes, I was thinking that even the appeal, there is a way, according to the policy, in terms of disciplinary procedure, the policy would define how the two bodies relate. The committee, the management committee in charge of the grievance and disciplinary, and then we also have an appeal panel. The policy would indicate how they relate. But however, just like the normal court, we can assume the disciplinary committee at management level is the High Court. Then we can assume the appeal body is the Court of Appeal. Exactly the way it happens is that if an appellate body overrules you, then you adopt that judgment. And therefore, I think part of the management is implementation, including even recalling that person, saying, following your appeal, we advise you it was successful, you may come back. But what I was trying to indicate is that all your other deliberations, which you had done by the time you are firing the person, are still remaining intact, but there has to be another, either a report or even that judgment from the appeal, of course, advising you, because it has to be written, that they have overturned what you said. Then maybe what there could be is you as a HR manager, a copy of the letter that you wrote, recalling that person, and even that person signing off that he has come back to indicate that you have implemented the decision.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there will be any other way how you manage yourself. Maybe it is in form of minutes, maybe it is in form of reports.
Yeah. So, and I totally agree with Gabriel. The High Court, let's say the first step, the main disciplinary committee, will not overshadow the decision made by the appeals committee. So that becomes the final document that you will need to recall this person. And of course, you as HR, you're going to management meeting and saying, this case, this is how it ended up, and there's someone taking minutes. So there's reference to that case in the management meeting. But then now the process around bringing this person back is vested in HR, where you call and say, well, this, of course, they will have been told the decision by the committee, the appeals committee chair, whoever communicates. And for you now, it's HR to pick up the phone or write an email and say, so and so, the decision has been made, it has been passed to HR. we expect you to come back to work on Monday, and by the time you're coming back, pass by my office so that we sign off the paperwork that you are back to work, and send them back to whatever, and not send them back with some bit of coaching, you know, and saying what happened, how would you like us to help you? Actually throw it back to them. How would you like us to help you? How would you like us to support you following these incidents? You know, what have you learned from it? You know, how do you think you will be engaging with your supervisor or the person who I mean, the people around who are involved in this process, you know? So let's not just return them back with saying, well, oh, you think you have won. Both of us, you know, we need each other, and learn from the process and say, it's a win-win. There's no loser here. You know, you remember conflict, there's no, it almost feels like a win-lose, but we have to get to a better balancing platform where we say, it has happened, and this is how we forge forward. Someone else? Creating curiosity around here. One thing I have adopted over time around disciplinary hearing, even leave grievance handling, because grievance handling is more of, is there any witch hunt? Is there any malice? You know, that one. Around disciplinary hearing is the intent. My word is intent. What is the intention of this person? What happened? What was the circumstances that led them to commit this issue? And I would like to cite some very cases that we can all relate to. It was a very bad whatever. One day, an employee in finance department was supposed to go for field work. Very loose way of handling money. And that's how you improve processes. So he had 1 million shillings. He was given 1 million shillings to go and implement the field work in another part of the country. So instead of going for his field work, he actually went to the bank. And he went to the bank and called his colleague in that county and said, I can't make it. You know what? I can't bring the money. Let me bank it in your account. You withdraw it and you implement it for me. I think these things were going on. Who knows? While he was at the bank writing the banking slip with the money in an envelope here, someone came and took the money and put another envelope. You know, have you ever been these things happen? And then he didn't even realize. He took his envelope and went to the cashier there, and then gave the envelope to the, oh my gosh, and gave the envelope to the cashier. When the cashier opened the envelope, he saw, there's no money here. These are just papers. First, you can imagine the shock of that employee, the shock of the cashier thinking that maybe also this person have already received the money. You get what I mean? I can tell you, you're the one who, I gave you an envelope. You know, I know it has 1 million shillings. It was a murky case. You can all imagine what happened from there. You should have been in the field. You were actually banking the money in someone else's personal account. You were robbed company money. Everything that, anyway, so we tried to follow process. It was too complicated, not too complicated. In fact, he said that we didn't follow due process, so he even sued us. So one case, I can't remember how it's, I think I gave it to someone else to handle. The other one was company vehicle, intent again. That's the intent, these two. One afternoon, just as we are going home, there was a search at the pass out gate where you're living, And the way you are told, and the guards were very clear, you know, the security manager tells the guards, today we'll do random check on people leaving. And it doesn't matter whether you are the CEO, we know that there will be random checks from time to time. It's not that we don't trust you, but we just want to make sure that the processes are working right. We can improve our processes. So even if the CEO is in a hurry to go, today you're the one we have been stopped and check. So there was a random check. And unfortunately, an employee was found with a bottle of the 20-liter water. Was told, whose water is this? It is mine. Do you have receipt for it? When did you buy it and stuff and everything? And they suspected that, well, he started fumbling. Then he was told, I don't think it's your water, because sometimes I keep on telling people, if your organization uses Aquamist as the water that is pre-qualified to be delivered in your company, why don't you use another product? I mean, things can become just dicey for no good apparent reason. Anyway, he had taken the water from, when cameras were run, he had actually taken the water from the boardroom, one of the water from the boardroom, because who knows? I mean, when you put 3 bottles of water there, nobody knows. That was theft, outright theft. These are the one, and we let him go. Can you imagine a bottle is 500 and their water is maybe 300? So the cost of that theft is 1,000 shillings, but you lose your job. This other one is a vehicle worth 6.5 million shillings, which the driver came late from field work, and unfortunately, he went home and the vehicle was stolen from his parking. The following day, he woke up, didn't find a brand new Land Cruiser of 6.5 million. Between crying and reporting, knowing that maybe I should not have gone with the vehicle home, he came and reported, and he went to security and said there whatever. So investigation, and I asked, why did he go with the vehicle home? First, it was very late. And why did he leave the field late, knowing very well? He told us, you know, and I have people to support me, the people we were doing field work with, is that on the way, we found a mother who was in labor and we had to rush them to hospital. And what does our policy, what is our primary role as a business, as a company, was maternal and child health. Right there, he made a decision to do what our company does, to help a mother in labor, and the clinic was 20 kilometers away. They lost time in between that. They got into jam, had to drop the other people. They were in whatever. He just decided, I'm exhausted, I'll go home with the vehicle. Look at those two intentions. Well, the vehicle, of course, was never found. That was never found, but insurance paid for the vehicle. So the intent, always look for the intent. He never, and when we asked of course, investigations, the watchman, nobody had the vehicle go. Maybe they rolled it and whatever. They started it off where he could not hear. So always look at the intent. This one looks, oh, you dismiss someone because of just 1,000 shillings. The intent. You stopped this one who lost property worth 6.5 million. What was the circumstances and the intent around it? Always remember intent. Any question? Any scenarios that anybody has that has come across?
Sorry, I just wanted to find out, in a union environment where you have the union officials and this employee has disappeared, can the union officials come and sit in? If they agree, can we go through the disciplinary process and serve them even with all the summary dismissal letters and everything on behalf of the employee?
Good question. Gabriel, and then we look into Grace's question.
I just wanted to note that that emphasis you've talked about on procedure cuts across all the functions, because even in the interview, although we are interviews outside this process, even in the interview, if the process is not correct, then the HR will always have a problem. I remember there's a board that was employing teachers, and there's this one teacher who came when he was drunk, and they decided, the panel was unanimous that we cannot even talk to this drunkard, go away. You imagine that guy went to TSC, and it was very bad because it was said the procedure, you should have interviewed him when he's drunk, you should not have said he's not drunk, and the teacher got the job. They were forced to give him the job. Then when he went, he told the head teacher, that day you are saying I'm drunk, now I'll be drinking in volumes. Yeah, so it happened. I think this issue, Malim, on HR procedure is something which is very dicey to us as practitioners and HR people who are. You can imagine that teacher was drunk when he was coming for interview. So the panel told him just wait. And then he went and said, was told it was unfair, you should have listened to him, so give him the job. And that's what happened. They had to recall the one, number two, they had to give the job to that guy.
Yeah, but can you also imagine how unfair when you know that what we are doing is for the greater good, where someone comes staggering, is incoherent, and of course they will tell you, who tells you that I am drunk? Have you tried to interview me and find that I am not capable of answering your questions? Who tells you that who tells you that I am smelling of alcohol? You know, people can really take you on a wild goose chase, and you know that everything is pointing to their disadvantage. But because the procedure was not followed again, what do we do? It's like the other day, there was a big discussion in our group that I am in for HR, and people are asking, so how, when someone comes, and things we have discussed over time, how do I get someone to go and get measured for alcohol testing? You know, just because I drank 10 bottles of beer last night and maybe it is not in my system, does it mean that I am still drunk? Just because I look a bit, groggy today and I'm not in my best state. So dicey, like what Gabriel is saying. It's a real professional hazard for us to follow processes, even within those procedures of even thinking, oh, we've called you, we've given you time, we've suspended you, all this, whatever. But those inside there, person can even say the questions they were asking me were really out of context. So remember, the people that you invite to sit in your disciplinary committees really must have adequate training. And we stress here adequate training for them to really understand this. You know, it's not ad hoc committee. Oh, okay, you hear the case, you hear the case and you also don't like this person. You are very good to sit in this committee. Make sure that it is balanced. People do understand what is at stake for them, and they will make the right decisions. So important as it is. Yeah, thank you for that. What do we do for Grace? Can someone come in on behalf, especially if it's a unionized environment, to sit on your behalf? Imekuja. Call the shop steward. See, after all, you represent these people. So you come and sit on their behalf, you hear. They've absconded, they will not come. And this is the day of the hearing. How do we help them? Is it even legally binding for someone to sit on on behalf of someone else?
Is it someone? Please. Yes, Gabriel.
I think it is not binding. You cannot sit because or whatever you will do, that person will come back. It doesn't matter how many or who has sat. He will come back and say that he was not given a fair hearing in his presence. I have an example of a teacher who absconded today. He became also a drunkard, another teacher. I don't know why a teacher like becoming drunkards. And even the principal went ahead and they actually interdicted him. But when he came back, it doesn't matter how many times he had missed the job. The whole thing turned out to fair hearing. And I don't know whether you, Mwalimu, you allow me to extend that slightly.
Yeah.
Because I have been looking at why it has become so hard, like what the teacher has just described, that you know very well this guy has been messing you up and he can take you to a wild goose, whatever. I was looking at the chapter 4 of Constitution, and I was very keen with labor laws before they were repealed. The 207 labor laws, which are now the labor laws which we are using. If you look at the previous labor laws before repeal, those labor laws were very, very intact. But with the new labor laws, what we normally call new labor laws, but the labor laws, the set of labor laws which were released in 2007, they became very hard on employers. And one of the things which I noted happened is that all the rights we are talking about relating to an employee, most of them were put in the Constitution. I have an example here of human dignity, the right to privacy, the right to fair administrative action, the right to there are a number of rights, and the most important thing is actually how they are supposed to be adjudicated. That the chapter 4 of the Constitution in Article 20, I'm sorry, I'm getting legal. It binds the judges when they are adjudicating what we have done as HR. They are bound. That's why it has become very hard. They are bound that if an employee came and said, I was not given a fair hearing, the law does not give us, the labor law does not give us, as it's anchored in the Constitution, it does not give us an opportunity to explain how fair we try to take it, to take this employee. The law requires that you go back again and give him the fair hearing. And that's why it has become very hard. Even when someone say you mistreated him under human dignity, you did not handle him well, you exposed him, you bring someone like that person you're talking about, the union person, the employee will come and cite that was his privacy, you exposed him. You see, again, it goes to the right to privacy. So it becomes very on our part, and therefore I was just trying to indicate that it is not possible to bring someone on board instead of the real person.
Very true. And because of the legal issues around it, you can't bring someone to sit on someone else's behalf. An employee is given the chance to bring in someone that they would like to be a witness to them and to support their case. But you can't you can't say, well, come and represent Catherine because they're in a union. You have to follow the due process. And also, again, just to reemphasize that we must read all these things together. The ILO constitutions, the country's constitution, the many labor laws that are, one is the Employment Act, then you'll have an Industrial Relations Act, all these things. It's like
I mean, when you think about HR and you think about the strategic direction that you need to have as the expert, it's a lot. It's really a lot. And that's why we keep on saying, what is your priority as HR? Really, like these seminars really give us a lot of insight, and we're able to share, and we go out sharpened, we hear experiences and stuff like that. But it's important for us to keep researching, to keep reading, to keep abreast on what's happening, the latest best practices, so that we are not left behind and we know how to do these things. Then it begs also the question is that from all these laws and acts that we have, which one takes precedent? When you're acting in issues around disciplinary processes, which one takes precedent? Is it the Constitution? Because you see real people, when they are faced with disciplinary issues, they'll come with the Constitution and say, just be aware, these are my rights as a citizen, and these are my rights as an employee. So let's start. Sasa akishafungwa na opening statement kama hiyo, mtu atafanya nini? Committee itafanya nini? So that is why we need to understand and always refresh ourselves in these issues and in these things that really can come. But for us to have a real good environment where these issues do not come up all the time, is to make sure that our environment, our policies, our culture, our strategy, everybody understands, and to find out what's happening in the grapevine, so that you're able to do what? Arrest those issues. And also at the same time, be very keen in the kind of contracts that you're going to give people now. That is why there's nothing anymore permanent and pensionable. If you work for the government, maybe, but even that's why we don't want to get into all these things. So we'll give you a 2-year fixed term contract. If we don't want to renew it, we won't. In fact, we put a caveat there saying that if you don't hear, I mean, nobody is going to remind the other. 2 years, it expires. If that's it. If you want to come on the corridors on HR and find out whether it's going to be renewed, what does the contract say? Nobody should remind each other. It's 2 years. But again, people are always thinking, is my 2-year contract going to be renewed? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? There's anxiety as well. So what happens? Your productivity also is affected. So it's so complicated, even when we try to look for solutions to make sure that by the time we know that you are a problem child and we don't want you here, we are just waiting. We can accommodate you for another 1 year. After that, we are not going to renew your contract. But the good people who want to stay in your organization think, this organization, 2 years, I don't know whether it's going to be renewed. So I better start looking for something else. So it's a real catch-22. So it's also good for us to check on what we really want to do for our people, kind of contracts that we want to run. But I love corporates. Corporates don't care. You're being a problem child. We will show you, and we will show you. The courts are made for men and women. We will meet there. But I think the government is more lenient in terms of disciplinary process, trying more around even the duty of care, and they recognize that there are problems around the workplace and even with people. So that's why they have all these elaborate programs that if you are struggling with alcohol and addiction, substance abuse, they can take you to a rehab for 3 months, paid for you, integrate you back, instead of just interdicting you, letting you go. Because of all these things, they know that there is a bigger problem that we need to talk to. So that's the same. Wellness programs in our organization play into place. So that's why we talk about performance management. By the time someone comes into organization to the time they leave, we need to be very careful in how we handle these situations. Okay. Someone else? Reaction? Experience? Okay, great. Yeah, Lucy?
And then Esther, Ombiti,
I was going to cite a case where one resigns, immediately they understand they're in trouble, they've been caught. A case in point is where an employee defrauded a supplier, where this supplier was paying some money and the employee went behind the company, got a deal with the supplier. And so supplier kept waiting for his payment only to come and complain. So when he knew he's in trouble, he wrote a resignation very quickly, wrote a check, and just kept it at the supervisor, and he was gone that Saturday morning. So in this case, how would you follow up such an employee who has actually gone and he wrote he's resigning and he's paying 1 month's salary in due of notice, and he's gone and he's left the resignation there? So how would you follow up such a person? Because in our case, we decided to let that matter rest. There is nothing we can do. He has resigned. We took the money, took the check, accepted the resignation, and we dealt with the supplier at our loss, counting your losses and dealing with the supplier for the sake also of the brand, the company, to protect us, just to remain trustworthy to the suppliers. But now we were thinking, really, how would you handle such a case? Because there was another case, sorry to say this again. There was one who, when they were vetting or they were checking our papers, there were those who were actually found out to have fake degrees, fake papers, Rivaro certificates. And so when one knew they are coming after me, they've searched all the files and he knew what he got was fake, he didn't come back. And so he used Securico to bring a resignation letter through Securico and put it at the reception. This lady signed, received, take it to HRM, only to open, and lo and behold, it's a resignation letter. So there was nothing they could do. The person has gone. What would be the best practice here?
A lot of cases have been cited around employees resigning whilst a disciplinary issue matter is ongoing, or even when they get wind, hey, this one for sure I cannot ponyoka with, you resign. So they leave the organization high and dry. Let's hear from others what they have done or what they think that we should do as HR. What advice should we be giving the business? Esther? Lucy will come back. Let's hear from Esther. Esther, you had your hand raised. Okay. Gabriel?
I really like Lucy's practical case because it's very, very practical. I have seen it. What happens in both events, this one, the employee who stole or who defrauded the customer, and also this other employee who had fake papers, those are two criminal aspects. But in terms of us now handling it within the organization, as HR, we must know that anytime we employ an employee, we must be aware that there is some risk component that we take as employers. And what will happen for this guy who has defrauded a supplier or a customer, internally it is important to bring to the attention of the supplier that this guy left, he messed you up, so that you more or less apologize and you make good to the supplier, because you as an organization, you are institutional, so you cannot say it is him. You take up that matter. The other thing now, once you have paid the supplier for what he was defrauded, you then now weigh criminal aspect. If you think you can make money from pursuing him, pursuing the criminal justice aspect and investigation, then you can go that way. But if you wait and you find that you are going to waste more money in that, then you would rather decide not to do that. I don't know why the government has, in most government institutions, when that happens, you are actually asked to resign and go instead of them keeping on following you, because it's very hard.
Exactly. They give you, they let you scot-free. I think it is it's a very soft landing, and we never know, because then even when we ask for reference, there's nothing in the file that really indicates they just resigned. When I call, and why did they resign? Well, they just resigned. We asked them to resign. Anyway, it becomes our reference checkpoints should also not just be the people who have actually done what, who have given us reference. We should be able to do what? Go over and above our call of duty as HR. If I know Catherine is coming to work in organization, and Caroline knows Catherine, hey, okay, I had Catherine coming forever. What do you know about her? Stuff like that. Caroline, I know you want to answer Lucy's question, or give some suggestions and ideas. Please go ahead.
Good morning. Sorry, I joined in late, but nonetheless, I've caught up. What I would like to say about the issues of someone who resigns, and especially when you are sure that they have an issue, sometimes because there are some dues that are pending to be paid, the person still needs to clear. So there is usually an opening for more interaction with the person. So what we've been doing on our side is, number one, that case has to be completely documented. So the manager who found out the issue writes the report, what happened. Then you write, either you send the allegations to the staff, whether they have resigned or not, and you send it by email, by post, so they'll never say they never got that communication. And you also call the person and tell them they need to come back and clear, and they are aware that this and this has happened. Now the thing is, when you don't go the full criminal process, and you don't document, and you don't inform the staff, later on in future they can come back and say you made life difficult for them at work. You didn't even have any grounds for making his life uncomfortable. And yet, when you look back in the file, if you're another HR, you will not find anything written there. So it's good to document it there. If it is possible that we can recover the money from the dues, then we let the staff know first, and we tell them that we are preparing to go diplomatically, or let's work it out and see this has happened and all that. If I have not accepted the resignation, I still call the person for disciplinary. I do the show cause, I do the disciplinary invitation and all that, because I'm assuming I have the notice period to work with. So some of the employees actually do come for the disciplinary, and they tell you what happened, blah, blah, blah. Some will apologize. Others will not come, they will not show up. So whether they come or they don't show up, we do minutes of that disciplinary. We give you the opportunity to come and be heard. So-and-so did not show up. The allegations were 50,000 was stolen from the supplier. And then now that goes on record. And at the end there, so-and-so did not show up. The panelist sign, and the section for the person to sign, we write, did not show up. So if you go criminal, you can actually, you may not go very far, but actually you'll have even something from the police, like an OB number or something, just to look like you're serious.
Exactly. And that will deter people knowing that I have been reported. And of course they think, oh, well, there's nothing they will do. They have no machinery. They don't want to mess their brand. They will never get my fingerprints. So the fingerprints will not come out from my fingerprints are still safe, because they've not been taken to CID, have not been taken to court. it's really complicated. But what Carol has said is the correct. If you resign, you still have the notice period. Within the notice period, you are still an employee. I can send you a show cause letter as to why disciplinary action should not be taken against you because please reply and and if they don't respond, then this one is definitely not going to cooperate. You give them 3 days or whatever your policy says. If they respond, well and good. Some people are brave. They will respond and say, this is whatever. You check into what they have said and you say, we see that you have a matter. We would like you to come for a disciplinary hearing, stuff like that. And maybe after that, they fizzle out. So it just depends from stage to stage. If they resign immediately, pay you off and say, even abscond, I've resigned. I'm serving my notice period and I have 30 days leave. I'm going on leave. Or even they pay you and, you still have that matter pending. Even without that, and say on that last day, because there is a window of a last day or something like that, and we say that, well, this has come to our attention. These are the allegations. We have proved beyond reasonable doubt. This is what it has said. It has been put on your file, and it's something that we would like you to come and discuss with us. If they don't, then you make sure that the full process is followed. You sign that they did not appear and put on file. So if I leave the organization and Carol comes in as the new HR manager, then we know if Grace ever comes back and she tries to hoodwink Caroline, their matter is already on file. And that's why we should have data in our company and say, how many cases are we looking at? How are these cases progressing? How was this case handled? This one decided to resign before the case could be even started, or this one resigned midway. And I would encourage you to just check online. If you type cases, people resigning before a disciplinary hearing is done, there are many. And people have taken others to court. Others have been taken to court. The procedure was not done right. Again, I think we need some bit of business law to be able to become better at these things. Any question there?
Another thing is, if you want to surcharge the employee, you cannot do it without their, first of all, knowing that they have something alleged against them. However, I have a question. Some of these people still go looking for other jobs. Then the new employer is vetting and is asking you to say why they left and how they left and all that. So sometimes it becomes a bit difficult to say that this person stole and yet you didn't finish the case to the end. So sometimes they just keep quiet. I don't know what to do with them.
With the reference.
And the nasty people always have a way of knowing that they have one over you.
Yeah, of course, definitely. So what should we do when we ask for reference about people who left the organization acrimoniously? What's our duty? Again, looking at GDPR, what we cannot say about someone and what information we cannot disclose. What are we doing? Anyone? What have you done in the past? What do you think you should do if you are faced with such circumstances? Anyone? Anyone who'd like to attempt, or what they have done? First and foremost, we all know that we should give them a certificate of service, isn't it? And if you get that call for reference, you can.
Catherine, maybe I could try. I think for me, I make it clear that apart from the certificate of service, of course, is the only obligation that I have. And the good thing about the stipulation for the certificate is reason why they've left the organization. And if they insist, I tell them I can't give a recommendation, but I can give a reference letter, which is just similar to the certificate of service, just confirming that they worked with us, but I would not go outside those boundaries.
Exactly. Sure, Jijazia, isn't it? Yeah, the other party should be able to Jijazia. Lucy, great.
Okay. Thank you, Catherine. For me, what I did when an employee had left on terms like those ones that are not favorable, and there was a reference requested, I would just say, yes, I confirm that the employee was here. But in terms of the reasons why they left, ask the employee to give you their letter of separation. Because usually the letter of separation will show, like if it was a dismissal, they just get that letter, they will read for themselves. Or if it is somebody who resigned, then the person resigned, the reasons for their resignation, kindly get them from the person. And I think once somebody says something like HR says something like that, the other person, as Mwalimu says, anajijazia, anajua that's not a good person.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't want to be the one giving information that is not whatever. Next, Lucy.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that because the person asking on the other side is also in HR. And so from one HR in an organization to another HR in an organization, I think there are those non-verbal where you can actually read between the lines. Because in a certificate of service, you do not give reasons for exiting. So in that case, then at least you would know there must have been an issue here. Now, just that aside, I was just wondering, in the case of a fraud, this person has resigned, has gone, and according to them, they have cleaned their parts. How about what would happen if I put his picture in the press in all popular or well-read newspapers, and I say so and so is no longer our employee? Any dealings with them are for their own person. We shall not take liability and all that. And so we leave that to whoever reads to say something fishy here, because this person is a procurement person and would easily continue saying, I still work with this organization. I can still get you this tender. I can still, so to avoid that and to put us not in disrepute with suppliers, is it in order that we just, in as much as we have not given him a hearing to find, to conclude that this person was guilty, is it in order to do that?
You will get a defamation suit on
You'll
your
get
head, Lucy.
Yeah.
Then number one, you have not exhausted the internal mechanism. You've not exhausted the criminal proceedings. They will sue you and you pay a lot of money. That one, I would hesitate.
Yeah. Unless it's beyond reasonable doubt that you've exhausted all the mechanisms that need to be there. And also in your, again, look at your employment contract, what it says about consent. Where can you put me? I have a case of, not a case, I have a roundtable discussion. We have little roundtable discussions. I'm sure you even within your peers of a company which has said, I left the organization, even just resigning. People who didn't just feel the organization and they resigned, they got somewhere else. Why is my face still in your on your website? Why is it still published in other places? You should remove it, and removing it costs money. So where is the goodwill? Things like that. So I don't know how people, the ones who put in the leading newspapers, how they manage to do that. Be aware that XYZ has stopped working for us, and any transaction that you enter with him is at your own risk, something like that. I think by the time they are getting there, they have had it. let's go. Let's talk about defamation. Uko mbele kwa judge. We will try and get to the to talk about that procedure in court. So I think it's really difficult. It's the whatevers have to be exhausted, and you'd have to seek legal guidance as to whether we can actually do that, or maybe the police can do that when maybe they have already done what you've already reported and the case is ongoing. I think so. I don't know. I would hate to get there. I mean, we are so they try HR until the end. Of course, the MD is asking you figure out how to get this guy out of our radar, and it's difficult. Yeah. Okay. Someone else? Reaction? Nice discussions around our experiences. David?
Hi, how are you, Catherine?
Good, and you?
I'm good. Me have a question.
Yeah.
It's a challenge that I've been incurring a number of times, especially it regards the sales and marketing employees who are most of them when they are not possibly within Nairobi, and somebody might be in Nyanza or even coasts. So what they usually happen, somebody possibly he want to resign, and according to their contract, they're supposed to serve 1 month notice. So it is a practice. What they usually do, they wait until the end of the month. Once we've just dispatched their salary, that particular employee tendered the resignation without serving notice. You see, when it comes to us, when you're doing the computation, then you find you have a liability in terms of recovering the 30 days notice, which it gives us a negative pay for that particular employee.
Yeah.
I don't know where's the best way to handle such kind of an issue.
I mean, why would anybody do that? I'm also thinking, where is their sense of responsibility? You wait for, and of course, I've had those many cases, I pay you and then you send me a resignation letter in crayons. I am gone. Keep going, keep walking like Johnny Walker. There's humor in everything. It's what do we do? So they don't pay you for notice period. They just walk away. Why would you do that? What is so hard about coming and saying, I want to go? The 30 days notice, you can't just be like you've woken up and gotten a job. It can't be.
Actually, some even don't clear. They just live like that.
So even their pension and everything, when will they ever come for it?
Most of them, in fact, they are more of new employees. They possibly have worked for a number of months or 1 year, at most 2. Yeah. Those are the kind of people you find with such kind of cases.
Yeah. I think it's really good discussion, David, you have raised there. I would like us to talk about about a pattern that is emerging in the organization, and what are we doing about it? Are we looking at policy improvement, systems improvement, maybe just redesigning the jobs of your salespeople? There could be opportunities around that, but let's hear from others what we can do when people resign and just bounce. And now I have a liability in my book. Leave, are you able to, do they have any leave days? And maybe they have even very few leave days, or even none. First, it's really bad behavior. I think it's really bad behavior. Very, 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 very. Caroline?
Because I realized especially the new ones don't want to stay. What we did is the probation period is 6 months. Then we changed the terms of notice for those on probation. We just picked what is on the Employment Act, which is, I think, is it 7 days?
Yeah, 7 days.
So I pay you 7 days, or you serve 7 days notice. Because they would go, they will never pay you the 1 month in lieu of notice. and if you want to remove them, you pay them a whole month in lieu of notice because you don't want a lot of issues. So we ended up changing the policy and changing the contract letters.
Okay. And what about
those who have
what
served a bit more? You're able to recover from their dues, the notice period.
But if they leave on the last day, you've paid me on the 30th, then 30th evening, money has checked into the bank. I sent you a resignation letter. I've resigned with immediate effect.
Yes, so I'll accept your resignation.
Yeah.
And I'll remind you in the letter, as per the terms of your contract, you are to, either party is supposed to give 1 month notice, serve 1 month notice, or pay in lieu of notice. So you will pay the organization the 1 month in lieu of notice. So we deduct it from your dues.
What
After
if
all,
they're not
if I was the one who was, or if they are not dues, then I'm left with a loss.
Yeah, you're left with a loss, unfortunately.
So that's why we reduced it for the probationary ones.
Exactly. And the thing is that, you see, one of the, and I have said that before, change the contracts, the kind of contracts. Let it be on a rolling basis. After all, sales is your effort. I'll give you a 1 year fixed contract. If you like it, well and good. If you don't like it, there's nothing. You know, we spoil for ourselves, unfortunately. The loss will be there. But David, as you can hear, you need to look into the systems and see how much better to change the role of salespeople, the kind of contracts of the salespeople have in the organization. Yes, Lucy? Or is it Caroline?
Yeah, thank you, Catherine. I think the other bit that we can do as HR is the issue of sensitization of the staff on some of these things. Sometimes they take things for granted or they don't understand, especially the young ones who just joined the organizations. They don't understand perhaps the importance of notice. That when you just up and go, there's an inconvenience to the organization and you actually prove to be very unreliable. And also it goes on your record. No, telling them such things so that they know that in case they are leaving, they need to comply with the terms of the contract because it can come back to haunt them later. And then maybe we can even demonstrate to them how sometimes you find that maybe 10 years down the line, or even 5 years down the line, or even 3 or even 1 year, you'll be looking for a reference. And this organization, if you just up and go, to not be able to give you a positive reference. And then the other bit, if that still doesn't work or somebody really has to leave, in the letter of acknowledgement that we give, we need to point out that you've not served notice or you've not paid in lieu of notice, and this remains a liability due from you. Kindly arrange to pay X amount. And then although we do not pursue it in a court of law to recover it, at least it will be on the record. And in future, maybe when they're looking for a reference, then the HR who will be there will have a look and will tell them, hey, by the way, you owe us something, pay us fast.
Yeah, I like what everybody has said in terms of really now the engagement, duty of care, coming to say, really, we might need each other. Have you ever gone somewhere and say, oh my gosh, can you imagine if I had done something wrong to you, we would not be seeing eye to eye? It is such a small world. We might not be perfect. We're not saying that everybody will like us or even some of the things that we do and some of the decisions that we make, because I think that is the right decision to make and it might not favor you. But what we are saying is that when you are here, first and foremost, I ask people, how would you like to be treated? I'm also an employee. If this was my company, how would I want people to be? How would I want people to act in this company? If I was the head of department, how would I want people to treat me as the head of department? So there are so many ways to appeal to people's sense of emotion, these young people, and say, there's a bigger picture. Think of yourself, the owner of this company. Would you want people to up and go? And then they just say, she's just talking. After all, what does she know? I asked her to increase for me money. Money will come. Money always comes when you do the right thing, when you make the right effort, you know. And of course, if as an organization, you also have the ability to pay equal work for equal pay, never withhold anything good for someone who has come. I said that yesterday. I live with that policy. I think you have no reason not to. So what we are trying to say is, first and foremost, onboarding processes. This is what it is. These are if you live like that, these are the consequences, and this is what you live as an organization. So be very, very careful in terms of how we engage with others, because you might meet me. Can you imagine if I leave work, if I resign from company ABC, and then I go and work somewhere else, and you come for an interview and you are so qualified, Allah, I'll interview you. Me as Catherine, I'll interview you. Me, I have no problem. And I will not even, my demeanor. And I think that's what we are called to do, our ethics as a profession. But I will pick up the call and say, you see, we've met here, and how you left there. How do you want us to engage now? Enda kwanza ulipe huko tulitoka, ndio tukuje hapa sasa tuendelee. Yeah, enda ulipe kwanza huko kulitoka, ndio tuendelee hapa. But again, it's difficult. I remember, and we all know this is a case of Safaricom, and in terms of employee engagement, and that's why I bring it here, the difficulty that employees make us do to change policies, to look to close the gaps in organizations, which, because one person or some people are behaving badly, now everybody else is forced to adhere to policies which, because now we are all lumped up together, bad way. But you see, if I start giving you contracts for 2 years, including me, whom I want more stability, is because of these wrong employees. So we are all lumped up together. And what happens? Productivity declines, because I'm just thinking, it's really bad for me. I don't know whether I'll have a job after 2 years. And I have all these plans, economic plans, social plans. I need to reinforce my opportunities that I have started and stuff like that. So when Safaricom, I know Safaricom, the centers, the shops, they used to employ those people on contract. In fact, they were outsourced by other people, but the turnover was too high. It was not sustainable. It was costing their business more compared to one day. I love Safaricom. They made a decision and say, turn all those people into Safaricom employees. And what they saw was remarkable change. In fact, if anything, when they had like 10 people in a shop, because of systems, because of motivation and everything, they cut the cost to 5 people, because the efficiency, the joy of what it is. So, people really need to understand, if this was my company, how would I run it? If it was gifted to me, would I take it? So that we are all being sustained by the profits that this company makes. So let me show up real good and work real hard. David, comment? Giving you some insights that you can try and use, or maybe start exploring.
Hi, I've gotten some very good information, especially from Lucy. And we are definitely going to kind of introduce the same in our systems.
Some of those, yeah. So thank you. Yeah, thanks for sharing, everyone. Well done.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you. Insights, inputs, things that we would like to hear, scenarios, questions. We are here to share. Okay. So we continue. So we've covered that at length. I want us to go to the importance. It cannot be emphasized, the reason as to why it's important for us to do what? To have this importance of disciplinary discipline in an organization. Research has found that a disciplined leader in an organization, including the leadership of the country, or can lead to a more just and caring society. So even from the country point of view, from the family point of view, from the employment point of view, we are with being a disciplined workforce. Okay, yeah. So the discipline also aims to gain returns that benefit the firm, its stakeholders, and the CEO, at the same time obtaining everything within the purview of ethics and moral principles. So let me not get there. Okay, tip. As an organization, you must convey the following to employees. How should they develop their unique disciplinary identity? What they are at the present in terms of discipline, what they can be in future in terms of discipline, how they behave at present in terms of discipline, how they could behave better in terms of discipline. Cut and paste, very easy in terms of how am I now? Well, how is my brand? My unique disciplinary identity. How do I make sure that it's above board? She's never been on a disciplinary issue because she follows the company's rules and regulations. I'll move pretty fast. Responsibilities of a disciplined employee. Who wants to read for us? Just the way they are, very just as a summary. The responsibilities that the person must also have. So it's not just, and when we take it from that premise that you need to be a disciplined person.
I can take it up, Catherine.
Thank you.
Responsibilities of a disciplined employee. Responsibilities that an employee has to fulfill towards his subordinates, peers, seniors, and organization are the following. He has to formulate and personify the purpose and disciplinary and ethical values of the organization. He has to focus on organizational success first, rather than on personal success and egotism. He should find and hire the best people and develop them to fit the organization's disciplinary values and ethics. He should clearly communicate about disciplinary values, ethics, and the creation of disciplinary value for his employees, suppliers, stakeholders, and organization. He should have clear defined processes and routes to address any kinds of disagreements that others may have to his views, decisions, and opinions.
And the last, okay, continue. The last 5.
Yes, he should be empathetic and understanding of others' disciplinary values and ethics. He should make tough disciplinary decisions while sticking to ethics and moral values, and at the same time meet the organization's goals. He should be well aware of the limits of the disciplinary values and ethical principles that can be practiced. He should carry out all his behavior, conduct, and actions in disciplined and ethical terms. He should maintain a clear balance between basic disciplinary value creation and ethical legitimacy.
Fantastic, yeah. So the saying that bring yourself to work, make sure that the first responsibility you have is to the organization, and then to yourself. You should understand the values of the organization and the ethics that are upheld there. You should also define the processes and routine to address any kind of disagreements. You should be able to know them. So, and then the tip there is, as an, sorry, yeah, I went back, yeah. So these are some of the methods that you can use to make your employees be more open and receptive to being disciplined. You know, it's not a bad thing. You know, you'll go through disciplinary. Leaders should become role models. Preach what you know best. Encourage an inclusive work culture. Effective whistle-blowing system, and encourage communication. No brainer that this is how we should be able to embrace that. So, and I'll not go word for word there in the interest of time. So we can take that. So I would like us to methods to make employees more disciplined. Yeah. Yes. Methods of disciplinary hearing. Let's talk about this. So what are some of the methods? Methods of disciplinary hearing. No, importance of disciplinary hearing. What is the importance? As outlined here, it is essential. It is an essential part of any disciplinary misconduct and investigation. The chairperson and the committee of the hearing, the subordinate, discuss the misconduct and plan to take the corrective action, reinforce discipline, and think of the next steps. And finally, in order to prepare for the hearing, subordinate is given an advance notice to prepare his explanation, to read over his rights and policies, analyze the problem that has been identified for him or the misconduct, and compile questions and comments. You know, really compile those questions and comments for us to be to come and to discuss. Then, depending upon the type of misconduct of the employee, there are 3 types of disciplinary actions or outcomes that can arise, such as low level of misconduct. What do we do? And we have discussed this around the cases that we have been discussing. We can get a warning letter, oral or written warning. What happens? What should happen when you're giving someone a verbal warning? Verbal warning, what should we do? What is the procedure of giving someone a verbal warning? Procedure? What should be the procedure? Or we just say, oh, I've warned you there in the corridors. What is the procedure of giving someone a verbal warning?
Is this after disciplinary?
Yes, it could be. You've disciplinary, and what we have found is that the action that warrants this, the consequences is oral verbal warning. It could be, or even just
for all disciplinaries.
Yeah,
we usually give feedback to everyone. Yeah, if it is going to be an oral warning, okay, first I'll call you and tell you after the disciplinary, the panel sat, and this is what was decided. We give you a verbal warning, do not repeat it again. So against the minutes, it will indicate there that I have warned you and you're expecting that you're going to change your conduct and start performing as best as you can. So for all of them, we give feedback.
All of them, you give feedback. But what is the procedure? You know, verbal, should we, the verbal warning, what happens around that procedure of verbal warning? You know, we've made a verbal warning. How long should we? Yeah.
After the disciplinary, I've given you the feedback. Then I also call your supervisor and give them the outcome of the disciplinary. And if it is the oral warning, then that supervisor will sit with this employee and now do that one-on-one.
Yeah. Lucy?
Yes, thanks. I also think, in light of all that, as part of the procedure is also to document that on this, the outcome, and we also write, and in this case, you are awarded a verbal warning, so that it goes into your file that you, on this discipline, we sat on this and we deliberated and we awarded a verbal warning to you. And so you sign, you've received.
Yeah.
So that in as much as we are talking, in as much as we have a one-on-one, we need to document and we need to file it that we gave you a verbal warning.
Exactly, we gave you a verbal warning. And how long should warnings stay in file? They become null and void?
1 year. 6 months? 1 year.
1 year.
It's 1 year. Why do they? And if you give me, in fact, let's talk about warnings so that we get a common understanding. Verbal, written, and can you give me another warning when I'm on another warning? Six months or 1 year, and can you also add on another warning on top of my warning? You'll
Yes,
kill me.
that if something happens and it's not related. I was drunk the first time, but this time I have come late twice, so I can still warn you.
You can still warn me. And when there are 3 warnings in the file, what happens? Which are running concurrently for obvious misconducts that really warrant warning. You have looked at the labor laws, you have looked at your policy, and it really warrants a warning. What happens?
I think after that warning letter, you can summarily dismiss the employee.
You can. I have no idea.
You just convene a disciplinary.
Of course, you go through the process. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You go through the process of making sure that whatever. When we were young and foolish, with my colleagues, we keep laughing. We had a real strict supervisor, but now we owe a lot of gratitude to them, a lot. In fact, we say we all came from her kindergarten. We still retained a good friendship, and we have good laughs around it. And we even now, we talk to her very often. She was so strict. We used to get memos. They were kind of warnings, but one guy who was very, honey, those ones of, this, I'll come, I didn't do this, I didn't put the pen right back into the pen holder, things like this, very micromanaging us. He used to take another storybook, you put it, and then says, well, they can't even fit in my file now. So we need to, what I'm trying to say is that not everything really deserves a memo. Not everything, you should not make people feel bad, because then you are in power and all the time you are trying to make us look the way we are inefficient. They were not warnings, but they were memos. We were late, and it was company transport that was coming to pick us, and we were all in time. And the traffic was a lot, and we got to work, all of us 5 minutes late. All of us were slapped with a memo. You guys came late, and tomorrow. And then we were just thinking, buy us a plane and get us there. So let's try and create an environment where people feel that small little things that will not crush our profits or our productivity. We are not saying we overlook it if it's really dire, but let's try and create a good working environment. I don't think me coming to work late one day when there's a real tight deadline, and all the other days I come late, really warrants you to give me a memo or to speak down on me. And there's a deadline, but the efficiency that I work with, your deadline will still get out. You're just a bit jittery that we've lost 30 minutes and the deadline is at 11. Don't worry, I'll work magic. The nice thing to say is that, wow, do you think we will meet the deadline, Catherine? I say, yeah, I'll work magic. I know you're a magician. Go on with it. You've created that opportunity. I am late, but you have given me the confidence that I'm expecting you to deliver and work that magic because you know that I can. Okay, great. Question? Are you in any kindergarten that really made you? Of course, we saw as if we were in jail, always in jail every day. Anyone? So what is the role of the chair in a disciplinary hearing? The role of the chair, not the committee members. And ideally, who should be the chair of the disciplinary committee and what is the role of HR in a disciplinary committee. The role of chair, primarily who is the chair, who is always the chair. How do you guys choose your chair?
I thought the HR should be the chair or the direct supervisor or the person who has the details of the case or something.
Interesting. Either HR or the supervisor or the person who has the mandate over the case, who has all the details. Lucy?
I think the chair should be somebody independent so that the hearing is seen to have been fair. Somebody, of course, who is decisive, who can be able to make a decision without fearing maybe or favoring any one side. The manager should not be, the line manager should not be chair because already he has like an opinion. After all, he's like the prosecutor in this case. He's the accuser, really, strictly speaking. So if he's the chair already, any decision reached, whether it is based on the facts or not, will be seen to have been biased. And then HR also should not be, HR should be guiding on the process, on the HR processes, and maybe the labor laws and things like that. So maybe HR can do the minutes of the proceedings, but not be chair.
Fantastic, fantastic.
Can I
Lucy? Yeah.
Yeah, I also feel the HR should be there to guide and give direction and maybe take minutes in what to be awarded. However, the chair can have a line manager, but on rotational basis, so that it is not the particular department where this employee is facing a discipline charge, because it must have been raised by the line manager. So this can be another line manager who can sit in, just so as not to look biased.
Yeah.
So if it's on rotational, it can also include a line manager, but rotationally.
Yeah. Okay. Someone else? The best practice is to make sure that you have a pool of trained people in your organization at every level, and you have a criteria of how these people are selected to take them through what happens, the process of disciplinary hearing, how they should conduct themselves, what kind of qualities they should have. If they don't have those competencies, you keep building on them and having refreshers all the time. So at every level of different managers, you should be able to have that. So ideally is that the HR should always be there to give the technical guidance and maybe to take minutes. It's always gravitates towards that. The chair should be an independent, neutral person who is who's aware of the processes and, of course, has been briefed of the issue at hand. The line manager, sometimes sometimes I see committees saying, well, because you already know this matter and you've already reported, you need to be there to give your input, and be very cautious, to be very, very objective and transparent in this issue. And also our demeanor, our tone of voices in that committee should be very deliberate in how we speak to the person we are disciplining, because they might even say that we were a hostile committee. So there are lots of things to be looked into. And then also someone who is technically, the committee, you could also invite 2 more people who are technically connected maybe to this matter to hear the issue. It should actually be balanced, and also just look at the gender balance in the organization. What are we trying to achieve here? We are trying to achieve fairness, and we're also trying to show this person the gravity of the matter. Is that we've not come to crucify you. We want a discussion, want to find out what happened, even before we make that decision. You remember the case of 6.5? Everybody in the organization used to know what is the intent. And it's even not HR, we just say, well, under the labor laws, this is what it says. This and our policy, this is what it says, guiding the process. Caroline, had your hand up?
Sorry, I was going to add, I was going to say something, but you've already said it, that you should have a team of people who can handle, because during this last year of COVID, we found that we could not use the same people for disciplinary hearings, and some had to be done out of town. So on the days of lockdowns, we had to use now other people to do that. So this thing of competency building and capacity building, I think we need to create a pool. That's what I was going to say, that during COVID and other times you need to be agile.
Yeah, true. Okay, thank you very much. So the last slides is, let me share them. The last two is around the role of the chair, and that's why I said who sits in the committee. He should be very firm, direct, and specific. I just said he should never get personal, because then we look upon the chair of the committee to give us guidance. He should develop a disciplinary action plan from the information gathered. He should encourage the employee to talk as much as possible to gather and clear facts. He should recognize that defensive behavior is normal, and these are things that he should call out as he's starting his meeting, that this is what we expect from this committee. He should never attack a person's defense, but keep things professional. He should understand the need to postpone actions until all facts are gathered, even in the interest of time, and say, I want this process finished today. You remember where HR said, no, sorry, we need more time. Time out. Well, don't be pushed to making decisions that are half-baked. You should empathize and understand human limitations. Okay, so great. I would like to open this forum to questions and answers. Was it useful? Your takeaways, things that, Lucy?
I want to ask a question in regards to maybe the members' views on the disciplinary hearing, or maybe to hear their members' suggestions on how they actually do it in the organizations. Like when it comes to a disciplinary hearing, how elaborate is the process? I know of organizations where the employee is given, the employee that is affected is given after the show cause letter, and he's told that the explanation is not acceptable. Then he's invited for a hearing. And at the hearing, the employee, we have like, let's say, for example, a case of theft. So who saw this person stealing, or who is the person who recovered? Those people are brought to the panel to explain, this is what I saw and this is what I did. There was an investigation. The investigating staff comes and says, I got the report and this is what I did. Then they're asked questions. So it's really like a court, because there is like the evidence in chief, there is the cross-examination, and there is re-examination. And it is quite tedious and time-consuming, but thorough. So I don't know whether that is the same process that other members of the panel follow in their organizations. And then the other point I would want to maybe hear other people's views is after the hearing. I've seen, Catherine, you've said the chair is like the one giving guidance on the action to be taken. But I know of organizations where the disciplinary panel makes a finding of whether the case is proved or not, but leaves the decision to somebody else, maybe the HR director or somebody senior in HR now to guide on the decision. This partly is informed by maybe experience, where you find that the chairs of the panel, they since they are not in HR, they are shy of taking the hard decisions, like saying dismiss. They say, how can I say dismiss? So even of the most serious cases, you find they are recommending always warning, warning, warning. So based on that, then maybe the management decides, you just tell us whether he's guilty or not, and then the decision to be made by another person, usually the head of in HR. Yeah, those are
Thank you, Lucy. Yeah, very good. Yeah. Whether the committee is brave enough to make the decisions, or they want to push their recommendations. You know, they give recommendations and say, from those recommendations, let HR and the line manager make one.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
let's open it to panel. Plenary, how is your disciplinary process in the organization? Is it like what Lucy has outlined? And who makes the decision? Is it the committee, or is it do they give recommendations and then HR or the CEO or the person tasked with that responsibility to make the decision? Please, let's share.
Our process is almost similar to what Lucy has shared, but of course we try and get as much documentation, especially from the employee before the disciplinary hearing. So we do the show cause, and they respond in writing. And if it's a situation where we can get whatever it is, photos or other people to write down their report or something, people may be eyewitnesses or something. And once we have all the documentation, then we send the disciplinary hearing letter. Of one takeaway apart from this is, for us, they've always thrown the responsibility of chairing the meeting to the HR, because no one else wants to do
in the hot seat.
Chair, and of course, always then we try and get a neutral person, a neutral senior manager or something to be present, you know. But and then the decision, once we finish the disciplinary, that's when the decision is made, but it's communicated to the employee usually the next morning.
Yeah. Okay.
But the whole committee makes decision together.
The decision together.
The HR's responsibility just
to communicate to the. Okay, great. Thank you. Lucy.
Yeah, for me, I see the process just as familiar, but I just want to ask on another angle. When an employee is given a show cause letter, and in response they say, I'm requesting for a personal hearing, a personal interview. Before they respond, before they give their views or they respond to the show cause, they want to be heard. They want a personal interview. So sometimes we find this a bit tricky, because this person wants a personal interview and is already armed with a shop steward or a union representative, and they are ready to come and give their side. So normally we'd say, no, just respond first, and then we will sit and analyze the case, and then where there is need, we'll call you for a personal interview. So on that case, is this being unfair to the employee, or is it right that the employee has to respond to the show cause first? Then it's up to the committee to decide, should we now call this person? He has requested a personal hearing, an interview.
It's a good one. So I think the genesis and best practice, and it's or like what we are saying, the process almost it's the same. Find the matter is reported, show cause, the person replies, gather all the evidence, come, and within we are following the process, and the committee should actually, best practice, let the committee be the ones making the decision, own the decision, make a brave and fair decision, and then the person to communicate the decision of the disciplinary hearing is HR together with the line manager. And say, we'll be at the end of the meeting, of course, you are telling them that we'll make a decision, and we'll by the following day or 2 days, we'll be coming back to give you the decision. I don't know why it should take 2 days. I think by the time we are leaving, it should be there. And of course, making sure that the minutes are signed by everybody. You give them a copy of the minutes, and to make sure that they do understand and they sign and stuff like that, because they were there, they had everything. So there's nothing that whatever. And this is the decision that we have made. And the decision was made reference to the kind of misconduct that you had committed. And these are the consequences that are meted out. So they already know. Anyway, if someone asks for a personal hearing, won't it still be a personal hearing even at the disciplinary? So a personal hearing is between HR and the line manager and without the larger committee. That's what I'm assuming, maybe a personal hearing, maybe just, I think they're doing that to appeal to your sense of justice, you know, oh, please hear me before you take me forward, you know, like in the good Bible. By the time you come to in front of the committee, for me, I would actually discourage that. It lengthens the process.
Yes.
If there is especially union, then they know that we can circumvent the process. And the thing is to reassure them that the process is being followed and you will be given fair hearing. And also this matter is personal to you, but of course you know that you can't get people to be witnesses and to represent, to be with you as you are going through. If you don't even know whether by the time you are responding, it doesn't even have to go to a hearing. You know, when they bring the facts and the matters and everything, sometimes you say, okay, fine, it ends here. We've heard you and whatever. With the line manager, what's going to happen is, let's give you a warning. So it's not necessarily that you have to go through a disciplinary hearing. When we analyze what you have said, might just end there sometimes. But I believe that let's the full process go. Let the full process take place, and then you instead of having a personal hearing. Someone else? Caroline?
Yes, I just wanted to add on to that thing of the personal attention. Okay, previously I used to think that no, you wait for the day of the hearing. But later on, I realized sometimes people have something they need to tell you before the hearing date that may change your perspective of the whole thing. So there was one particular case that turned out to be, it was like a sexual harassment thing. So what I've been doing now is to say, if you want to come and see me separately, then but you will still have to, you'll come, you'll write what you're going to tell me. And on the day of the hearing, we'll have to share the same thing, but I will not be the one who will be in that committee. Someone else will have to be in that committee. So now this particular case, you find, like you said earlier, what is the intent in all this? What is the manager's intent? What is the employee's intent? What was the role in both of these things? So sometimes you might find the disciplinary issue becoming a grievance issue. So I wouldn't say let's tell everyone to wait. Maybe just find a way of telling the person, you cannot come with your union official, you cannot come, you know, with all these things. You can tell me as HR, but the issue of the disciplinary still has to be
exactly. Yeah. Again, the duty of care, just how it is, so that you are not seem to be breaking the law. Okay, great. Thank you for that, and I think it was really good engagement. Any other question, feedback on how it was? What are your takeaway points as well?
Okay, I have a question. How would, in our policy, we have stipulated the time to be taken for investigations. Maybe that's the time it should be on suspension. But you realize you require more time. So now you extend it. But now this is in a unionized environment where they're saying, no, the period is strictly supposed to be 14 days, not more than 14, but you have extended. And so you ask yourself, and maybe the decision has arrived, and you say, we no longer need this employee, we need to separate. So we extended, the employee was given a letter, and a copy was shared to the union, but now they come back, they say, okay, as per the CBA, you lose your benefits. But now when it comes to the time of suspension, they say, no, now that one, they cannot lose. So I don't know how would we go about it. That is how the CBA is. You are meant to lose your benefit. But now when it comes to that period of suspension, because you extended, yes, we agreed because you needed to get more information, but now let the employee not lose these benefits. How would you go about it?
I don't think I lose their benefits or even their pay. First, it's illegal. It's just things that we have put there to deter and to protect the employer. But what happens is that I'm still an employee. I'm entitled to all the benefits, allowances as the investigation is going on. And there've been cases in court where employers have been taken to court because you suspended me and you didn't bring me back, and I lost my benefits. That should be very clear. If Grace, you need to go and change your policy immediately today, because then you've tied yourself within 14 days, and you're hoping that you will finish days. But some things need more time, so you should have flexibility of saying, we will endeavor to complete the investigations within 14 days. However, if they are not, if it has not been finished and concluded, the company, the organization has the prerogative to extend it, and we will make sure that we inform the other party we need a bit of more time to finish up the investigation. So, and that is aligned with the CBA and with the company. So let's not box ourselves too much, especially around the area of investigation where we don't know how much time is going to take. Some investigation is spot on. Some investigation will complete with it before even 14 days, and some investigation will also take more time. So let's make sure that our policies are flexible. And investigations, we are happy with the investigation. Let's not wait until 14 days are over to start the matter. Strike it while it's still hot. The other person is also anxious to find out. Will not say, oh, it calls for 14 days. We've finished the investigation. We are happy to go on with the hearing. Let's have the hearing within this date and say, well, we are bringing it forward. Okay? Yeah. Okay.
Thanks, Catherine.
Yeah. Any other comments? I have to jump onto another meeting. I don't want to rush anyone. Comments, reactions? Thank you for the ones who have said thank you and they have left from the chat. Thank you. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate your feedback. Thank you very much.
Maybe if I could just verbalize my thank you, I'd say this has been quite enlightening, and I appreciate. My take home is the issue of the intent when disciplining, and I think that's something we need to look at. But sometimes intent and policy can seem to clash here, where you want to stick to the policy, but when you talk of intent, we'll be a bit slow in coming up with a rash decision. We'll take time and look at it from the employee's side of dilemma of view and from our side and our policies. So thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Fantastic. Yeah. So thank you so much for tuning in. Wonderful 4 days. So today we are counting down Friday like bad employees. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. We're also human, counting down the hours to whatever time you leave. That's life. We're also human, HR. And thank you so much. It was really nice having this session with you. I hope that I will see you in the subsequent ones. For me is to wish you Godspeed in everything that you do, and let's continue the what do you call it, the engagement. Oh, and by the way, I have looking for a good HR officer. It's at that level. So if you know someone who's looking or someone who would be interested in the opportunity, you can hit me up. Let me put my number on the chat just in case.
Do you have an age limit?
No, kuna age limit. Come one, come all. 722-762-481. We've drop
You
me.
talked about round tables.
Mko kwa ma round table?
How do we get a round table? I think some of these things look like we need to thrashing them out more often. And you said our networks is our net worth.
Exactly. Being round tables, be purposeful to sometimes I have two really good roundtables, very good roundtables where it's serious discussions. I know those one group is full, the other one is it's very fluid around we want to discuss this. Let's have 30 minutes of good brainstorming. This is my email address. So did it come to everyone? Direct message. How do I now? Did it come?
You click to all panelists. No.
All panelists. Okay. There you go. Roundtables are important for us to be able to share and connect, and that's where you get all these opportunities. Sometimes you hear, but that I didn't hear of that job in the market. Kumbe ilikuwa tu kwa round table. Fifilia hapo, you know. That's what happens. You can see it?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. Godspeed. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate your time. Have a very good weekend. Bye.
Nice weekend.
You,
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.